Hey there everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm your resident fantasy therapist and welcome back to my channel. Those of you here for the first time, welcome. My name is Kat Bowser. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm also a writer working on my first 2 novels, one a standalone, one the start of a series. And on my channel I like to talk about what I consider to be the heart of all writing, and that's the characters. And the heart of the characters is their psychology. So that's the angle I like to take with almost everything I talk about on my channel. Hey guys, so I just wanted to talk about a short little topic that I've been thinking about for a little bit, and that is the prospect of songs and poems in stories. So this, I think, is more prevalent in fantasy books. I definitely see them pop up more there. Doesn't mean they can't pop up in other ones, but that's where I primarily see them. And most people I talk to tell me they skip them. They don't read them, they see them come up and they just skip to get back to the rest of the plot. While I understand this, I also don't understand it. Mainly because poems and songs and little mini stories within stories are usually put there for a reason. And I think that when you skip over them, you miss a lot of the story. Not necessarily something that would ruin it or anything, but something that they usually add more flavor to it. I'll put it that way. For example, let's see. I mean, I use Lord of the Rings because I think when people think of songs and stuff in books, this is one of the ones that comes to mind the most. And I'm not going to pretend like every song in here is what I would consider relevant. There's a whole song in there that's literally just a bath time song, and it's fun and it's funny, but you really wouldn't, I don't think you really gain a whole bunch from it. But I don't know that for sure because, like I said, it's been a bit since I've read that one. However, there is a song in particular that I think adds so much to the story, and so many people just skip it. When the Fellowship first goes into Moria, Sam remarks to Gimli that these are just dark, dank holes, and Gimli tells him, no, they're not. There's a deeper history to them than that. They're more important than that. And he sings what they call the Song of Durin, which is basically it's a summarized history of the dwarves. It talks about their belief and where they came from.
The world was young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen. No words were laid on stream or stone when Durin woke and walked alone.
Talks about what Moria was like in its prime, and it talks about how it fell, but also how there is hope of it rising again.
The shadow lies upon his tomb, in Moria, in Khazad-dûm, but still the sunken stars appear. His crown in water deep, till Durin wakes again from sleep.
And it just adds so much to the dwarves' history. And I think if you skip it the first time and you read the books, and then you go back and read the books again and read it this time, like include all the songs, the world is much richer, because songs and stories and poems and stuff, slang, things like that, these are all little things that you can use to color your world. So I mean, you think about it, when you were a little kid, you definitely had songs and rhymes and things like that you said. When I was a kid, we used to have one that we said every time we jumped rope, and we had like 3 or 4 that we could pick from. Some of them were silly, some of them were not. They were easy to remember because they all rhymed. But if you actually look at like fairy tales and rhymes and tall tales and things like that, they're told for a reason. And usually if you trace them back to their origin, it's very fascinating what they grew from. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't change over time. They absolutely do. That's actually one thing I find fascinating with history, is if you have a little rhyme or a children's game or something, and it seems just like something fun to do, and you look at the origin of it, it's like, oh my goodness, this was talking about this horrific historical event. That's lovely. But let me talk about briefly why I kind of am attached to songs and books. My mother-in-law is 100% Latvian. My hubby is half. And when, a little bit of history here, when the Soviet Union acquired Latvia at the end of World War II, they basically did what most people consider to be like a cultural wipe. I mean, they went through, they destroyed family records, they removed family farms, gave them to the government, all kinds of not nice things. My husband can only trace his mother's lineage back to his grandfather, because all the records prior to that were destroyed. Because the idea was that you didn't want people to keep their cultural identity. But they could not get rid of the songs. That is actually what is often quoted with helping Latvia survive, helping their culture not completely go extinct, is that they had these songs about culture and old stories and things like that they would continuously sing. And if you actually look through history, it's called the Singing Revolution in Latvia, and it's really interesting. So to me, that's why I think songs and little stories and stuff within novels, within larger stories, are important, because they are a reflection of the culture that you are participating in, whatever it is, whether it be a made-up culture or a real one. And I just think it's a way to make your world richer. It makes it feel more real. Do you have to go into the history of all the little rhymes and stuff that your characters say? No. But I think just having them there indicates that there's a history that we don't know about. And that in itself makes the world feel bigger. So I know this isn't like a super in-depth topic. It's not a very long video, but I just think, especially the more I learn about how, my mother-in-law's culture basically survived because of songs, I pay more attention to songs and poems that pop up in novels. And I'm not a songwriter, I'm really not, but I do have songs and rhymes and poems that pop up in my stories, and they are there for a reason. Sometimes I slip foreshadowing into them, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have the same story that is interpreted differently depending on what culture you're with at the moment. And I just think that is more authentic. I really just think it makes your world all that more richer, all that more real. And even if you guys aren't the ones that are going to be putting poems and things like that in your writing, that's fine. Not everybody has to. Not everybody should. But I do hope that if you're reading a novel or a series of books and there are poems and songs in there, that you'll at least give them a read over, because I think there's probably more to them than you think there is. So that's just my brief little thing on songs and novels. I hope you guys found it interesting. As always, if you guys have comments or topics you would like me to address, drop them below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. I upload twice a week, once beginning of the week, once the end of the week. And if you don't want to miss when I upload, make sure that you subscribe and ring the bell so that you don't. And until next time, stay safe, and I hope you have a good one.